What's going on, everybody? So I was thinking about Cal Rittenhouse, and I was thinking about the jury selection process. Now I know it's probably too early to start thinking about what a jury is going to look like, but pretty much I just really couldn't help myself, and for whatever reason, I think I was thinking about the jury. So I actually did a few videos about jury selection and other cases on my channel. So it makes sense for me to talk about the jury selection process with Cal Rittenhouse. Now, generally speaking, there is something called a voir dire, which is French for see and say, right? And the voir dire jury selection process is the part of the process whereby you get a chance to question the jury and then you try to get rid of them based off of some of the answers that they give, right? So this is the portion where Cal could essentially try to pick the jury that he wants. Now, of course, this is America, and people think that, this jury process is this noble and holy thing. It's not. In my opinion, the jury process is just a bunch of nonsense. Basically, you're asking a group of strangers who you don't know to come in to sit down in your case and judge your fate. Now, you could be lucky and you can find a jury who or that consists of a bunch of people that think like you and have your same morals and ethics and values. You can get lucky and you can get that. And most people probably think that's what Kyle is going to get. Now, I don't really know the area where it actually happened, but from my understanding, they're going to take a jury pool from the area of where the actual incident happened. So there's a process, and I think I explain all this on another video, and I will attach it to the end of this video. It's called Explaining the American Jury System. It goes into really great detail of how the jury selection process works, right? So they're going to basically find several people in the area that where Cal actually killed Rosenbaum and he actually shot those other people. They're going to find jurors from that area. They're going to find jurors in that area, at least so I think, right? And they're going to have this thing called the voir dire. Now, here, this is Cal's chance to eliminate anyone that doesn't think like he does and anyone that doesn't have the same morals and ethics and values that he has, right? This is the only chance he's going to get to do it. And I thought I'd just make a quick video to talk about some of the people that Cal wants on his jury, and then some of the people that Cal definitely wants to keep off of his jury. Now, one thing I do want to say is that both Cal and the prosecutor will get something called a preemptory strike. And that's going to be the ability for Cal to just get rid of any three people that he doesn't like. He doesn't have to give a reason. He doesn't have to give a cause. He can select any juror and he can essentially say, I don't like the way this person looks, or I don't like the way this person stands or sits, or I don't like the shirt that this person has on. Get rid of him. He doesn't really have to give a reason, to be honest with you. He can just get rid of any three people using his peremptory strike. Now, conversely, the prosecutors can do basically the same thing. They can get rid of anybody that they want, up to three jurors, right? So let's talk about the type of people that Cal is going to want on his jury. And I think that's going to be pretty much obvious. Basically, he's going to want white conservatives. He's going to want white conservatives. This is my own personal opinion. If you disagree with me, let me know. But basically, a white conservative is going to agree with the notion that it's okay to shoot an unarmed person if that person is attacking you. Me personally, I don't think it's okay, especially in Cal's situation. But I'm just going to go out and I'm just going to go ahead and admit that it's not for me to decide. And that's one of the things that I've actually had to come to terms with, is that it's not for me to decide. I think the prosecutors have done their job. They've indicted him. But beyond that, it's really up to judge and jury. I don't think Cal is going to leave his fate up to a judge. He's probably going to choose a jury, and I think he has a pretty good chance. Actually, I don't know what the statistics are for the neighborhood where he actually shot Rosenbaum and all those other people, but they're going to choose someone for that from that town, that general town. They're going to look at the driver's license. They're going to look at voter registration. They're going to look at any type of government application, and then they're going to use that as their basis from getting names and addresses. And then they're going to check to see if those names and addresses are current. And then from there, they're going to select a list of potential jurors, right? So it's going to be interesting to see what he ends up with. But if he ends up with a jury full of white conservatives, he doesn't really have to do anything, right? He doesn't really, the voir dire session won't really be a huge deal for him. If anything, he'll probably have to spend a lot of time trying to protect his jury pool, right? But if you have a bunch of white conservatives on the jury, then he's pretty much good to go. The other thing that Cal is probably going to want, he's probably going to want a jury full of far right extremists. And basically, far right extremists are going to support Cal. These are going to be the people, in my opinion, who show up at these protests and they're bringing guns. They're showing up to protest. They're beating on people. They're showing up to protest and they're intimidating people. These are the type of people that Cal is going to want on his jury pool. He's going to want conservative white people. He's going to want the far right extremists. And finally, I think the type of people that he's going to want on his jury pool is black conservatives. We're going to get into racism in a minute. We're going to get into how racism plays a role with the traditional jury. And this has pretty much been the case throughout the history of the United States. There's no escaping it. Racism has always been a factor. It always will be, right? But basically, black conservatives are going to be okay. Black conservatives are going to be the one exception to the black people that Cal actually wants on his jury pool. In my opinion, an example of a black conservative would be Officer Tatum. I don't know if you guys have heard of Officer Tatum, but he's a very popular blogger on Twitter, and he also has a YouTube channel. And he's going to want people like this on his jury pool because these type of African Americans, they essentially don't believe in a lot of the things that other African Americans believe when it comes down to racism. They don't believe in police brutality on black people. They think it's a myth. They think that it's fake news. He's also going to want people like Candace Owens. I'd say Candace Owens, Officer Tatum's, black people like that. These are the type of individuals he's going to want on his jury pool. These type of people, in my opinion, are privileged black people. It's interesting actually because Candace Owens actually did experience racism and she was the victim of racism, but somehow or another she seems to have gotten how racism plays a role. Basically, if I can remember the story correctly, and you can Google this, and I think it's actually on Wikipedia. You can find it on her Wikipedia page. And according to that wiki page, it looks like she received harassing phone calls, and she actually ended up suing. So it's just kind of odd to me how she believes that racism isn't perpetrated against black people, and it's just kind of odd that she can't see that some African Americans actually unnecessarily victims of police brutality. Overall, people like Officer Tatum, Candace Owens, they're going to believe that police brutality and the Black Lives Matter movement is a myth, and the Black Lives Matter movement actually make lots of allegations that just simply doesn't exist. So these are the type of black people that Cal is going to want on his jury pool. Now, what type of people is Cal going to be looking to keep off of his jury pool? I mean, that's pretty much simple. He's going to want to pretty much eliminate any black person unless they're conservative. If they're not a conservative black person, he's going to want to immediately get them off of his jury because I say this, First, again, there's a history of black people being excluded from jury pools. And there's actually training videos whereby you have a federal prosecutor. I don't know if the guy was a federal prosecutor or just a prosecutor. You have videos out there where the guy gives training sessions to other prosecutors on how to exclude or eliminate black people on your jury pool. And he gives an explanation as to why he wants to prevent black people from being on the jury pool, right? So I think in his explanation, he basically says that black people typically won't convict, right? But you have to put that in context. Uh, I think he's talking about situations where African Americans are unfairly being treated by the law. In this case, you have Cal Rittenhouse, a white guy who shoots an unarmed man. And right now, with the Black Lives Matter movement, you have black people coming out protesting that black people are being unnecessarily shot by police officers. I think that black people are more likely to find empathy for the victims of Cal Rittenhouse instead of finding mercy for Cal Rittenhouse, because essentially they're going to identify with Cal's victims. Black people are constantly the victims of racial profiling. They're constantly the victims of police brutality. So most black people are going to agree with this. The only people that's not going to agree with this are those black conservatives. They're going to say that, it's not true, it's just a myth. And they're essentially going to say that a lot of these black people deserve the treatment that they receive. They may not say that exactly. They may stop short of saying it, but you can tell by the tone that some of these black conservatives use that they pretty much want to say it, right? So specifically speaking about Candace Owens, she actually has a video where she talks about Breonna Taylor, and she says that Breonna Taylor, it's a shame that Breonna Taylor died. I'm paraphrasing. She said something to that nature, and then she immediately went in and talked about how Breonna Taylor was essentially a trap queen. And I'm paraphrasing. And I myself too have videos about Breonna Taylor. And my stance on Breonna Taylor is this: I think that no one should be unnecessarily killed by police. And I think there's a lot of fraud in the police reports that were used to get the warrant, specifically the no-knock warrant in Breonna Taylor's case. And I think those are the conditions that led to her death. Now, on the flip side of that, Breonna Taylor probably should have been arrested because she was associated with known criminals. And as you guys know, there are laws out there to catch people like Breonna, like the RICO statute, which essentially says that you don't necessarily have to be caught doing a crime. You just have to be the officers or the prosecutors just have to prove that you're associated with the known criminals, right? So many states have many RICO statutes. So there's no question that Breonna Taylor probably would have been arrested, but that doesn't downplay the fact that she should not have been killed, and police the allegations that the police used falsified police reports to obtain a warrant against her, right? To basically search her home. And this falsification of evidence is actually what led, in my opinion, to her actual killing. So, that's really it for this video. I just wanted to do a quick video to talk about the jury selection for Cal Rittenhouse. What type of people does Cal want? And what type of people should Cal try to prevent being on his jury pool, right? So let me know what your thoughts are. What do you think about black conservatives? What do you think about the Black Lives Matter movement? If you were Cal's lawyer, how would you handle the voir dire section of his case? That's it for this video. Leave your questions and comments below, and please like, share, and subscribe.